talking about the Royal Rumble 1989, the first technically Royal Rumble as a pay-per-view, and it begins this big four as years go on. People always talk about Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. This is the birth of the big four. And for you, while you were working in the WWF, was it difficult for some people to wrap their heads around having multiple pay-per-views in a year? Because WrestleMania was a success, but then slowly more keep coming in. And are they all home runs? And that's why they're like, let's keep doing this.
Yeah, well, you have to think that this was, pay-per-views in their infancy. I mean, let's remember it wasn't too many years before that we'd seen, closed circuit television.
Right.
And the WWE was in the forefront of this. I mean, they really were among the first sports entertainment companies to do this kind of thing and grow with it, because, they used to have, when they had the closed circuit, you'd have to go to a theater to go and watch it and pay for it. So, we were used to doing these, but as they kept seeing and finding more and more success with it, I think we had a feeling that, there was more coming, but I was pretty comfortable once we got to the point where we had four. It was kind of the season, that you would go through and you would build these as we went along. You still had a lot of time to build some great storylines. And it's amazing me to think now back, we just thought like, oh, that was so much. And I remember doing the events and just thinking, oh my God, now we got to start doing this one. And now, today, it's like weekly almost. We had it pretty easy when it comes to doing these events and getting the time to actually promote them. Now it's a whole different world, but you're exactly right when you say, when it was everybody just, overwhelmed and, how much more can we do?
Yeah,
it was just the beginning, and the WWE led the way when it came to these kind of events. And as you said, this kind of completed the four horsemen of pay-per-view events, so to speak, because and it seemed right. It seemed like it was that. Oh, okay, that's good, but it was another event. We'll talk about how this first one didn't do tremendously well, but it was just the way things evolved. People the prior year had pretty much gotten it for, you had cable, you could have watched it. So maybe there was something a little bit to do with that, to say, well, now I got to pay for it this time out. But right. Things would change as we would go through the years ahead.
That's funny you say that, because for so long, before you could just go on YouTube and type in or Google and type in something to search for, a lot of people did not know the 1988 Royal Rumble even existed, because it wasn't acknowledged when they would come out with Royal Rumble anthology DVDs or VHS tapes. 88 was not part of that. So if you only watched that show then, that I think only a group of fans from that era would know about it. And then years later, you're like, wait a minute, there was a test run. This was just a test. And then we had another one at a house show. Like, to me, it's interesting to think that we all think this is the first Royal Rumble, but it's the first one on pay-per-view. And I got to say, when you think of Royal Rumble matches, you have 30 men. That's exciting to me. But when you also think of a Royal Rumble, you have undercards. And I'll tell you what, the combo of undercard on this show is like, did you pick them out of a hat? And nothing wrong with them, because when I watched them, I was like, okay, the crowd's into it. Great. You have a 2 out of 3 falls match. You have a women's championship, a pose down after that, and then a king of the WWF crown match. Those were the matches that led you into the Royal Rumble. Like, what are your thoughts on undercards on a Royal Rumble?
Well, this one especially kind of reminded me about the way they would do boxing events, where you'd have an undercard.
Yes.
And a lot of them were not great boxers that would be in that ring. Most of them you'd never heard of, or if it was somebody you'd heard of, he was fighting a potato in there, and it was and this kind of reminded me of that. It's not like the philosophy of, say, the UFC today, and of course the WWE, where there really was a philosophy of, when the pay-per-view started, you had to have a tremendous match. I thought about WrestleMania 9, when Basil DeVito, who was one of the promotion guy, and that when they started WrestleMania, when they went on the air with pay-per-view, and of course they had to hold all these seats right in the front row for the big muckety mucks, the Vegas muckety
The high rollers.
Yeah, and he said when they went on the air, they weren't there because they were used to how these events went. That the stuff before is just letting everybody get there and have their little social time with each other, not really have to pay a whole lot of attention. But the philosophy at that point was like, oh man, when we hit, when Howard would count them in and we're on the air and count it down and like the big crowd would pop, and then you've got to have a tremendous match to start it so that people would know, okay, man, this is going to be a great night. This reminded me more of the kind of the boxing match, the philosophy that they had in Vegas, because Rockin' Robin, God love her, and the whole thing, but these lineups, like you said, it was just kind of like, did they draw these out of a hat? The names for those, and literally did it, because we know for the Royal Rumble, you drew numbers, but it wasn't random. Okay.
Wait a minute. Excuse me. Are you trying to tell me that these numbers are predetermined in a storyline somewhere that someone wrote down?
Well, if you recall, there was some shenanigans by the $1 Million Man as we start talking more about. Okay, but we'll get into. But when we get into the meat of how that match actually went down, and as you and I talked before we started this episode, right. Jump cut.
Yeah, jump cut. Technical difficulties, folks. But yeah, you were saying off air before we even started, you started to share with me your feelings about the Royal Rumble. Can you elaborate and tell the people how you love the Royal Rumble or loathe the Royal Rumble?
The concept of it, the original concept, as they call it, a battle royal, where you would put, say, 30 guys in the ring to start, and it was an elimination match, which was a total cluster F. Yes. For those. I mean, imagine that. You got 30 guys in the ring, and you're trying to move around and try and do some business, and it was very difficult, and the guys really hated that. That was, just very difficult to do. And all you really had to remember is, when do I go out? But the concept of it, and I believe that Pat Patterson had a lot to do with this, of the idea of, having the countdown, and then, you'd have everybody would draw a number, and nobody would know what that number is. And then every 2 minutes or whatever the countdown was, that then that person, the 10, 9, 8, and then you'd see who's it going to be. And it was, as far as that concept went, that was awesome, because everybody's kind of looking like, you could just see as you watched, everybody looks to that entrance when the countdown, and who's coming through that curtain next. But as far as these matches went, and this is, I always just didn't. It was always a cluster. Now, even though sometimes you'd have 8 guys in there or 2, but it was a lot of improv in there, let's just say. And you got to see a lot of yapping, and you had to make sure that you've got, you would try and get into a corner so you guys could work some stuff, but it was mostly them, just going along. It's like a dance move. And these guys, when you're have done this long enough, your wrist, you've got a few options there. Hit you from behind, the double axe handle, you're immediate. If somebody's hit, you're going to react. But to me, it was just too much improv going on in there. And then you have to, guys that would just have to seem like they're fatigued, and they'd be in the corner, and you have to stay clear and know when you got to go out. And I know I'm hearing, Greg Valentine talking about, one time he's in there and he's supposed to be in there for 30 minutes. That was, where, and there, some guys are coming over and they're like throwing him out. And he's like telling them, guys, I can't, I'm not supposed to go out yet. So, that's kind of the way that these things kind of drove me crazy. One thing, what I did like about it, was an opportunity to showcase everybody. Mm-hmm. And you saw all these guys that would come in Outlaw Ron Bass. I mean,
he had a chance.
Ronnie Garvin, the Bushwhackers separately. And so you get to see these guys, and they a lot of times they did get to stay in for 8 to 10 minutes, which was kind of cool, that because they wouldn't necessarily get the stage Tito Santana, and we go on and on. And so for that reason, I did like it, because it gave all the guys the opportunity to go out there, and there were people, of course, in the crowd. Everybody had their favorites, and so they got the opportunity to do it. So, but overall, not a huge fan of these. I just never was. Because I just felt that it was just too loose, too much, going, and the guys trying to work and, trying to make it all somehow fit together. And it was just very difficult to do.
You're
shocked.
I'm shocked. I'm honestly shocked, but I'm also on board. I'm also on board a little bit with the idea, the concept of the countdown. And everyone's so excited. Yeah. Who's coming out next? And then years later, the music would play. So you'd hear your favorite music hit. And you're like, oh, shit, it's the Road Dogg, or, someone like that. Right. But yet in this one, I like the idea of a Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. But when you're right, when you get into the ring, you can't really do moves. You can't really, I'm going to suplex you. Because if you suplex me, you might hit 4 other people on the other side.
A lot of double punches, axe handles.
A lot of, I got you in the corner.
A lot of choking. A lot of chops.
A lot of, got one leg up.
A lot of that.
Get one leg up, and I'm trying to push you out with one leg.
Yeah.
But the idea, at least in the concept, is every man for himself. So in this particular Royal Rumble, you see bad guys with good guys trying to eliminate another good guy. And as a fan, I'm thinking, holy shit, like this is interesting as a fan, because you're like, well, why is the Macho Man and Bad News Brown friends? They hate each other. Why are they helping to take out Greg Valentine? Like, you're just sitting there. To me, that concept is amazing. But even before we get to that, the drawing of the numbers. This is one of those things that I have loved forever, and they got rid of it and they brought it back. The drawing of the numbers.
Yeah.
This one in particular makes me laugh, because years later, it's just like they do the number and they walk away. This one on the pay-per-view, when they draw numbers, they like cut a promo about their number. They're always cutting a quick promo about their numbers. But you and the $1 Million Man and Slick, for me personally, made me hysterically laugh while watching the drawings, because $1 Million Man, he pulls out his number and he's thinking, I'm rich, I'm going to be great. Yeah. He looks at it, he's disappointed. Off camera, he's like, Slick, and he finds Slick, and he brings over Slick on camera, of course, to totally just get the moment there. Yeah. And he's asking what his numbers.
What's that number going to cost you?
Akeem and Big Boss Man, and he's going to sell his numbers. That's great. Okay. So then we get to backstage interviews, and there you are with Slick and Akeem and Boss Man. And Boss Man, dude, he is into it. He is in there. Akeem is dancing, and you call out Slick on air about how he and the $1 Million Man made a deal. And you're like, what are you talking about, man? And let me just show you some footage, though. Let me show you some footage. And it's the footage we just watched earlier. Slick looks at you. He's like, oh, you meant that? DiBiase. Oh, and then he gets mad at you. To me, I hysterically laughed while watching this at midnight.
And I tell you, dude, when I think back of that and seeing that, I don't know how I didn't break. I didn't, because his timing of that delivering that. I mean, oh, you mean that? And only he could pull that off. Because I have to keep track of those things. I am the journalist of the bunch, and I must call them out when I see it. And them trying to pull off those shenanigans, because the $1 Million Man always pulling crap like that. I had to do it, but not that it made any difference.
It's true.
Right? It didn't. We didn't have Jack Tunney step in. Nothing.
Jack Tunney only wants to show up when there's a big payday, a big check for him, probably. Ted DiBiase is number 30 in this, which to me, it really shows you, his storyline and how he's buying numbers for the Royal Rumble. What's even better about this, though, is a year later in the 1990 Royal Rumble, he's number 1 because of being caught cheating in the 1989 Royal Rumble. So they carried it over. So I like that part about it. But
kind of like the draft. He's penalized the final year. We're going to save that one. And
Yeah,
your,
Jack
your
Tunney was like, I'm
your
gonna write that
pick is
down.
going to
Like,
be wait. Yeah, that's very funny.
it was a good carryover. But
Yeah,
this Royal Rumble though, Big John Studd wins this Royal Rumble. Big John Studd.
yeah. It
And
was actually entertaining up to that point until you got about the last 10 minutes, and then you're like,
thank you,
wah, wah,
thank you,
wah.
dude. Once the Mega Powers in that situation was
Yeah,
over, that
yeah,
Royal Rumble it crashed hard for me. I was like, what is this? This is terrible. It
yeah.
was terrible. The last 10 minutes is bad.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
I mean, the Hulkster was great in that one. I mean, he came in fired up. He's throwing guys out. Randy, comes right in and just immediately mauls Bad News Brown and just, you're right. And then it peaked. I mean, if you were looking at a graph there, like that, and then it just went, and that's not the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to just keep going up there. And yeah, and rewatching it again, it was tough for me to finish it because
Same.
I knew it was coming, and I was just like, oh yeah, I remember how lame this was. So
because the moments in this Rumble
yeah,
are fun, but Big John Studd,
yes, definitely moments. Yeah,
and you're like, what? Even if he was, this is the way to bring him back because again, this is the birth of the Royal Rumble as a pay-per-view. We don't get into 1993 until the winner actually gets something. You get a championship match at WrestleMania as the main event.
That's something at stake. Yeah,
right. 89 to 92. There's really no concept except for 92. The world title's on the line because it's vacated. But so this is just another match with 30 guys in it. And does it even matter, I guess, who wins here? Because Big John Studd doesn't get anything from this. He ends up being a special guest referee for Andre and Jake the Snake Roberts' match at WrestleMania. And then he doesn't even make it to SummerSlam. He quits. So is this all worth it to have this guy come in to kind of like reintroduce you to the audience? He's already tall. Does he need this?
Well, it's not necessarily, he does need it. Yeah, absolutely. He's to try and create some buzz or some momentum behind him, and I'm sure there was some agreement with Vince that he's like, you got to do something for me. But he couldn't do a whole lot in there, and I have to also, I'll give you got to give credit to Andre in this Rumble here because he did some serious work early on there, and I always. The way I always love these when if Andre was going to be in a situation where there were going to be multiple opponents, 3 men couldn't beat him, 4 men couldn't beat him, 8 men couldn't beat him. You know what I'm saying? That one-on-one, because we would see him in those kinds of situations, maybe even a tag thing. But when you're in, you don't defeat a giant like that. It's like Princess Bride. Remember the whole thing is that he was I'm used to fighting all, 10 men, or, and that's kind of the way I looked at it. So for them to team up on 2 or 3 of them and then toss Andre out, I would have, that would have really pissed me off because he's a giant. He's used to taking on and tossing these mere mortals away from him. And so the idea with the snake, now that, okay, I bought that. Yeah, we knew he was deathly afraid of snakes. And if and Jake coming back in there and hurling hurling Damian into the center of the ring, I totally bought that. Andre probably would say this, and I'm out. Yeah. And this was 89, think about it. Andre wasn't physically in the greatest condition. I'm not going to say shape. I'm just saying condition because his body was starting to fail, and he went in there and I was very entertained by it. I thought he did a great job and at mixing it up in there, and so the way they eliminated him, I thought that was awesome. That worked for me.
So you weren't impressed by Big John Studd, though?
Studd, who's basically he's a younger guy. He's giant size, whatever, but he didn't move very well. And so, it was just like, oh boy, can we get this over with? By the time he got in there, lots of big hammers, lots of big chops, picking people up, but not a lot of moves and stuff happening there. And so, My point of it is he was never, in my eyes, ever going to find much great success in the WWE. It just wasn't going to happen because he was just a giant. He was just a giant, and couldn't do a whole lot. Andre could. Andre always did, and his reputation preceded him. But even as long as he could get in that ring, Andre was willing to, take a bump, and he took some serious bumps there. Along the way, even at that point when he couldn't move very well. And I always just thought I had such great respect for him, because I think he felt that if I'm going to go in there, he knew he was going to pay the price afterwards. But it didn't matter. If he was going to go in there, he was going to give everything he had. And he did that day.
You make a good point. You make a good point, because Big John said once he gets in and all that happens, the whole Rumble just falls apart and it's boring. Yeah. Even you have Ted DiBiase in there, even all these other superstars are still in there, but nothing really compares to
what do you do with them?
Well, the start of this Rumble, though, to me is one of the best, because when I suggested to you, I was like, let's do the 1989 Royal Rumble. I was like, I haven't done a Rumble yet with Mooney. It'd be fun to do it. Let's do the first one. It's a pay-per-view. Okay. So I started watching.
I know he loves these.
I knew it. All those shoot interviews he did. I watched them all. He said he hated them. That's exactly what I got you. That's the title of this. Untold Stories of Mooney hating Royal Rumbles. The first two people, though, in this, Axe is number one. Smash is number two. And when this shit happens and you hear the music in the audience and they actually fight each other, dude, you're talking about like Royal Rumble moments. This is it. The first pay-per-view has the two tag teams and being like, well, it is every man for himself. And then Andre the Giant is number 3. Like, starting off hot.
It all worked. I mean, that beginning of it, they had me. I had even remembering back then, because nobody really ever got to see Barry Darsow work as a single. I mean, he had
microphone shut off.
You can't hear me?
No.
No?
Oh, there you go. Now I got you. We got you. We're good.
You got me loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. I think that, people had never really gotten a chance to Barry Darsow work as a single, as solo. And he had for much of his career until the opportunity to become a part of Demolition happened. And we saw them work as a tag team. But to see him in action like that against his tag team partner, and they worked well together. I mean, I could see that would be a great match to watch. Mm-hmm. And they went at it, right away. It wasn't this hesitation of going, well, we're tag team partners. How do we do it? It was just like, let's go, And you could see right there, they obviously could work, but it was really fun to see the two of them wrestling together. And like I said, it was kind of an opportunity. You're seeing that Barry being able to work and doing some great work there against Bill. And so it was fun. And then when Andre went in, and I thought that was, fun to watch, of them trying to work on Andre. And then, it's counting down. And if they got to get rid of him, when Andre comes in, okay, then they become like a tag team.
You're right.
Start saying, okay, all bets are off. But when it was one-on-one, okay, mano a mano, we got to go. And maybe you're going.
I loved it.
Yeah, I did. It was a great start. That's good. Yeah. A good point to that. Yeah.
And then the other big moment you mentioned earlier is Andre the Giant. He has a rivalry with Jake the Snake Roberts. Well, Jake's been eliminated. Jake comes down, throws the snake. Andre jumps. Now there's like, he didn't stand over one leg at a time. This dude leaps out with his arm out and then flips over. And this starts one of those rules, because the Royal Rumble changes rules as time goes on about eliminations. Sometimes you can't eliminate yourself. Sometimes you can eliminate yourself. Sometimes if someone's already been tossed out and comes out and tosses you out, that counts. And sometimes it doesn't. So it depends on what year you watch. But this year, it's if you jump over the top rope, you are out. Because Gorilla Monsoon even brings this shit up in the Royal Rumble 92. And he's like, well, Macho Man jumps over the top rope. He's like, oh, he's not eliminated. And no, it's not. It's different now. It's completely different. So I like that moment, but the biggest moment,
the rules, and the rules, like you said, kind of go out the window. And it was funny because, I love and I'll tell you, I really enjoyed the commentary between and Gorilla. And we've talked about this before, and I never never really wanted to say, that I didn't like Gorilla and Jesse together. I just said that, Gorilla and Bobby were a better team as far as the way they meshed and were going. Always had great respect for Jesse as a commentator, but I thought that he worked better with Vince. But I really thought it worked well in this at this event because Gorilla is kind of, the baby in this sense, a baby face in this, and like when Hulk pulls the boss man out of the ring, and Jesse's going, "Wait, man, he's cheating there," and Gorilla's like, "Well, so what?" And just like, "What?" And it was, he was a cheater, and then he did it again, and then you're thinking, well, Boss Man was never really eliminated. He pulled him out twice, and then Boss Man's just had enough, and he kind of goes back, and they fight all the way back to the curtain. But yeah, the rules were fast and loose in this, and constantly changing. So yeah, and you could go over the rope, and if your foot didn't touch the floor, then you could come back in, or couldn't go out underneath the rope. I mean, there was just all kinds of stuff that was going on.
See, my rule would be if I get tossed out and I land on my back, but my feet don't touch, am I eliminated?
Yeah, any body part.
Any body part, though.
Yes.
So it's two feet must touch the floor. That's the rule. 2 feet.
See,
all right.
See? There you go. And it's as Gorilla would say, so what?
Oh, all right. Okay. No problem.
That's what it was. It was a spectacle. To see, it was a chance to get all of these guys out there, create some drama, have this, this countdown that would have this anticipation to see who's going to come out there next. But it was actually, when it all came down to it, as you said, it was pointless. There was no real reward. It was just to be, I'm king of the hill at the end of it.
Right. It's not there was a trophy, like, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. At least you got a trophy for like a week. Yeah. This was,
but you have to give like I said, though, you have to give Pat Patterson credit that concept though was pretty brilliant. I love because the people had gotten used to the battle royal where, like I said, everybody would be in there and they would just eliminate one guy at a time, and it was just for the first at least until you got 15 out of there and you could do anything. It was nothing. It was just guys, chopping and trying to lift each other up and choking because you had to do anything else in there.
That's true too. Battle royals, I think,
are pit. It was a big giant mosh pit.
I don't like battle royals. I don't like battle royals. This though is one of those. The intro to this Royal Rumble though has Vince McMahon reading everyone's names off, and that would become a tradition for a lot of these Royal Rumbles for at least the beginning. Yeah. But when you watch this and hear the way he's recording, you can clearly tell he's been recording on different days, different names. Because one is like Bad News Brown, Axe, Monty Garvin. But see, like some of them are like that. Huh? Some of them have that, and then other times you can clearly tell they're like, Vince, we have to record 10 of these right now. And he's like, all right, Marty Jannetty, and then the other one is like, smash. So bizarre, like they're not edited right at all. But I do appreciate Vince's voice being the beginning of this all. But the biggest thing that I think that happened in this Rumble is the Mega Powers and their explosion happening in front of our eyes even further. We did a whole podcast about this, but This to me is where you realize Royal Rumbles are not about 30 men. It's about creating moments inside of this 30-man match. We have a new opponent every 2 minutes. So we got to figure out how to entertain people every 2 minutes. The Mega Powers, as Hogan accidentally tosses out Macho Man for the Royal Rumble.
Really?
Macho comes in, pie faces him, and it all falls apart. So you're on the side of Macho Man here. You believe Hogan dumped him out?
Yes, I think that it was. I think it was just diabolical that you're really going, taking him out, and you don't know that Randy's intertwined with them as they both go out. Mm-hmm. I mean, I tell you, I mean, there's the argument, of course, Right. He did. He
Who's
never
you
touched Randy. He never didn't grab a body part. You know, so when they went over, Randy got caught in the mess, the wake of that, and went out too. But when he went in there and pushed him from behind, I was like, yeah, what the hell was that, Hulk? Huh? You know? And then, of course, Elizabeth comes in without the heels. By the way, didn't want to. It would have been much tougher for her to move around. I know other people noticed that, and gets in between the two, and he cools it all down. And then Randy's kind of supposedly seeing, yeah, okay, maybe. I didn't buy that either, dude.
Oh,
I didn't buy that either. I think it was just simmering. It was like, all right, here, okay, yeah, let's do the handshake. But I'm watching you, dude. I know what you're up to. Yeah.
Wow, the Hulk's there. He does cheat this match later on too, so he is kind of have a pathway of being a cheater in these Royal Rumble matches. Actually,
he wasn't following all the demandments that day. Let's just say.
Shit.
Okay,
he took his
saying his prayers, training. Yeah,
he didn't train that day.
Believing in yourself. Okay,
believe in yourself.
He was doing that. He was
He
following that one.
The foreshadowing, though, is hilarious because when Macho Man's number gets called and he runs down, he actually runs and saves Hulk Hogan from being dumped out. He runs over and he hits someone and saves Hogan. And then you flash forward 10 minutes later, boom, the opposite happens, but Hogan knocks out Savage, and then Savage, what the hell, man?
Dude. Oh, that's some friend you are.
Yeah. And then a few weeks later, we do actually have the giant moment where Elizabeth gets crushed by Macho Man's rear end on Saturday Night's Main Event, and the backstage, the backstage, the anger in the medical facility back there, people were upset. That was good stuff. This is the beginning, really.
Right, and you see the simmering of it. That's what I said. As Randy's offers the handshake, okay, dude, okay, we're good, but I didn't buy it. I'm thinking, he doesn't trust this guy. And there's some cracks. There's some cracks here, as we would soon see.
It's even crazier because I've been watching some Saturday Night's Main Events in between this time because I like to watch shows that happen around this time. One of them, it's Hogan versus King Haku. And Hogan's like, yeah, I have Miss Elizabeth with me. The Macho Man lent her to me for the night. And then they lock hands, Hogan and Elizabeth. They walk off. He's like, my lady, and they walk off. And Mean Gene's on the mic, and he looks over at the cameraman and says, I haven't seen a prettier couple since the King and Queen of England. I'm thinking to myself, I don't remember ever watching this, but you, Mooney, and Mean Gene, you're all part of the problem. You were inciting this.
Oh, I just was observing what I was seeing. I wasn't trying to start anything. So, and it was an they're innocent comments. We're just, seeing what's there. Not maybe thinking there might be somebody who might take offense to that or think like, what are you trying to stir up here? As we would see. And another great point here too. You mentioned Saturday Night's Main Event. And this is another thing because we talked about Raw too, but where, prior to shows, you didn't really see stuff like that revealed where we would, really advance a storyline and being able to do that on Saturday Night's Main Event, because remember how big that was. Yep. That, with them, the big match and then Elizabeth getting clobbered and Hulk taking her in the back. And that was a major move in storyline there. And so that changed, as we were able to have these big platforms to do it. And we've mentioned the size of the audience, and then also bringing in new people to watch the product was huge. And it was helping to evolve how the WWE would work and how we would advance storylines and use those as an opportunity to, as a promotional tool, but also grab more people. And it worked. It was
this event does that too, I think, with this Macho Man Hogan thing, because now you're like, wait, what happened? I need to see this. Or you want to buy the replay or see it somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, it was, all of this was evolving then. And it's 89 we're talking about, but that's when, we started to see, to me, some of the greatest storylines ever in
Oh yeah.
WWE history, because and the how it evolved of how they would set these stories up and then do the payoffs as well, and lead into the big four, the pay-per-views that we would be able to do, and then either pay it off or set up something and set something else to go from there. I mean, it was a brilliant concept to me, and I think that back then it was just enough time when you had this quarterly major event taking place to do it. I think, today, because it's just so much, that I think that's part of the reason we don't see a lot of these deep stories, that are able to really develop because it moves along so quickly. And maybe it's just the sign of the times of, with our phones and all this information's out there all the time. Back then, you could keep that under wraps and just do a slow build, and then bam, payoff,
That's so true.
I miss that.
Because I can only imagine if this event was happening today, I would have already known online at like 10 a.m. that Macho Man was going to eventually turn on Hogan. And tonight they were going to do this big moment that would set it all up. So now you're watching tonight's main event and you're seeing the aftermath of what happened at Royal Rumble, which then leads to WrestleMania 5. So in reality, like we talked about this Tuesday in Texas being just a Survivor Series 1991 connected at the hip as a commercial. Royal Rumble and these events are really setting you up for WrestleMania this time around. It has never been like that. We didn't really have Royal Rumble to do that. They tried it with a year before with Hogan and Andre having a contract signing, which led to WrestleMania 4. But like this one, you have so much more to go here. NBC, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. It's very interesting to see how this is a promotional tool, and they always are. But I do want to read off the Royal Rumble participants, and I want you to tell me who you thought actually had a chance of winning. If you thought.
Yeah, and are you going to do it in Vince's voice, or are you just going to?
Oh, if you want me to.
Because you won't be able to talk to me afterwards.
One half of Demolition. Axe. One half of Demolition. Smash. Yeah, I would be out cold quick. Yeah. Andre the Giant, Mr. Perfect, not wearing his signature gear. He's just wearing blue trunks. And to me, he looks naked. Ronnie Garvin, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jake the Snake Roberts, Outlaw Ron Bass, Shawn Michaels, Bushwhacker Butch, the Honky Tonk Man, Tito Santana, Bad News Brown is number 13. Marty Jannetty, Randy Savage, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Hulk Hogan, Bushwhacker Luke, Coco Beware, The Warlord, Big Boss Man, and Akeem. And so I want to point that out to you right now. 22 and 23 are Big Boss Man and Akeem. $1 Million Man made a sweet ass deal with Slick. Like Slick is not if you got paid off, but he also has both his men back to back. To me, deal of a lifetime. Though number 24 is when it all falls off. It's Brutus Beefcake, the Red Rooster, the Barbarian.
That's right.
Big
I mean, that's exactly right. Remember
Hercules,
we talked about when it started
Rick Martel, $1 Million Man.
Oh, and there's that segment there where when they have Brutus in there, and then the Rooster comes in, and then that goes on for like 10 minutes. It felt like, and I would do that thing where you can hit and go a few seconds ahead,
frames, and
it'd be like they're still in the corner. He's still up on the top rope, laying across, and they're doing the chop across the chest, and like, oh please, the order of that. Now, that lineup that you talk about, it's not bad. I mean, all those guys, but as far as the order of where you're going to put them in, you want to build to this big finish there and keep, Akeem was that whole boss man, Akeem, that all going on was pretty awesome. And I would have kept them in there until the end. Imagine if you're going
Hogan's a cheater. That's why Mooney. Hogan's a cheater, and that's why we didn't have that amazing moment.
Exactly. But if you're going to keep John Studd in there, then how about those three going at it? Not the way it ended up. Of course, DiBiase is going to work his magic there that he does. And I love the stuff when he's going against Stud and he's directing Akeem on what to do, and they're like, give him the chop, you know. But I would have, I mean, keep the momentum going there. It really was. It was just, I don't know what happened. I would love
Hulk
to have
Hogan
that
left the
conversation
area.
with Bruce, and yeah. Well, but and maybe kept that part with Hulk Hogan to later on in near the finish there to build to it. He's going to go out, but maybe later on than they did, because there was not a whole lot left after that.
No, there wasn't a lot really before this, but when I think of wrestling is when I get excited when they do pose downs. And Ultimate Warrior and Rick Rude have a pose down, and this is biased. I just want to say that right now. There's shenanigans happening here because the audience has to be the ones who say, "Oh, Warrior was more. I liked his pose better. No, I liked Rick Rude's better."
Right?
Are you telling me it's fair? The fan favorite Ultimate Warrior gets to come out, and the audience gets to say, "I like him more than Rick Rude," even if Rick Rude has a better pose.
Well, come on. When it came down to it, all the Warrior really had to do was just go out there and stand there. I mean, I'm not to say that Rick Rude didn't have a phenomenal physique, but not really. Warrior was definitely more of that bodybuilder physique there, and everyone hated Rick Rude. So,
Unfair.
What do you think is going to happen? Unfair. Okay, you can say that all you want. And and he used to get kind of grief from the boys too, is that his lower half wasn't exactly matched the upper half as far as size and
Rick
Rude?
What
I mean, Rick, yes.
Okay.
You'd see that sometimes these guys, they worked really hard on that upper body, but they hated legs. And he didn't. I mean, not that they were chicken legs here, but compared to the rest of them, there was a difference. And Warrior was just massive, top and bottom. He had those massive quads and the big, these giant legs. And Rick had a different build. It was more sleek, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, also when you probably don't win the contest is when you insult the audience beforehand. But I do like Jesse on commentary. Jesse says that Rick Rude has won the Jesse the Body. He won the Jesse the Body Ventura Award a little before this, so he wanted to cheer on a ward member of his club. So I liked it. I did like the pose down, but honestly, the combo, what you put this after a women's match, and I'm not disparaging anyone who's a woman wrestler, but at this point in time, the audience is not going to the arenas to be like, I can't wait to watch Judy Martin versus Rockin' Robin. Nothing against them, but no one's buying a ticket to see that in 1989.
Yeah, this is not the diva era by any stretch. Not that Rockin' Robin wasn't the looker, but when you talk about some of the divas that would follow, not much of a comparison, and that would be early on with those the women that were part of that world were not. They were more brute than beauty. Moolah and the list goes on and on, and that is exactly right to the way they followed. And we talked about the lineup going into this. It wasn't a whole lot to keep people in their seats, and the pose down, of course, was just a gimmick that they put together. And how'd you think it was going to go? No matter what, even let's say that they did have matching physiques, or what. Rick Rude was he was the bad guy. He was a heel, and as you said, it was loaded. That whole thing was kind of loaded, and so we knew how that was going to turn out.
I know. But as a fan who's of course a fan of bodybuilding, as you can tell, I am an ICO pro. I take my ICO pro every day. You have to. It's a supplement. Come on, for your body.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And we know how well that went.
No, I have
that's a whole other show.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be selling this stuff, but this is the end of the women's division in the WWF until 1998. This is the end. This is the kaput. And Sherri's on commentary too during this, and she's like, I can't wait to have a championship match after this. She was the most entertaining part about this match. Nothing against Judy Martin or Rockin' Robin, but nobody was interested in seeing this at the time. And so far, because before Cyndi Lauper, and you had all that momentum with her involved with the women's division, and then now here we are where it's the end. Like, what happened?
Well, this is what's really amazing about what we've seen, what women's wrestling has become as it was back then. You're talking in, 89. And prior to that, it was kind of along the same lines. And I hate to say it, but it was, when we would get the midgets, politically incorrect, I guess that is to say, but most people are comfortable with that with professional wrestling, is it was midget wrestling. And it was one of those things that when business was kind of going down, or they needed something to, have some kind of gimmick, that's when they'd bring those guys in. And then you'd have some women's matches. And it's amazing. It was on the same level in a sense, as far as what people would, as far as the spectacle of it went. Mm-hmm. It was just something different and something to see, as opposed to what you see, where it went. And as I've said before, Sensational Sherri, I believe, had a lot to do with that. That taking it to a completely different level, and you needed to have somebody who could step in there and keep up with the men, and that's exactly what she did. And then, of course, we saw people like Chyna and then it became the Diva era, and they never looked back. Of course. But then it was still just, it was just part of the spectacle. Let's bring them in. Let's, give them a match, see what kind of reaction. But I remember the crowd really was never really into it. It was just something fun to see. And the same thing when they brought the little people in, and that's what it was. So it really is amazing to think, you look at that and, Rockin' Robin and the people that were wrestling in those days, they could work. It's just that nobody cared, and they would get work in the independent circuit, and then show up every once in a while to do these kinds of matches. It really is. It's a credit to them of that they believed and were so passionate about it. And they helped pave that road. I say that the top one to me, though, is Sherri, that really took it to the next level. And then we saw what we've since then. But then it was just part of the spectacle of an event, and bring them in, and there we'll put them on the card.
I need to correct myself because I know someone was listening to me talk about the years, and someone's going to say wrong. It was 1993 is when women's wrestling came back into the WWF with Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano and Bertha Faye. So I knew someone immediately when I said that out loud was like, "Ha, lies." So I.
But that is something, it is. It's amazing that was the last match with the women's for a big period of time there, and it's not like they had much of a division prior to that either.
No.
So, so like 93, and then that's when it started to change. But, I think the fact that Sherri going in there and going toe-to-toe helped bring that back. And then, they never looked back when they started getting some real, great talent in there, and they were great to look at. And that helped out tremendously too.
Because in 93, it comes back, it goes away again in 95, then it comes back in 98 just because they have Sable, and they're like, well, we got to get something to Sable. And then you get the ball rolling with we have
because like you said, how many were there, right? You could name them on your hand. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you had, wow. And I remember seeing that. Yeah. I remember when you started seeing the divas, and you go, these beautiful women with these incredible bodies, and look what they're doing in the ring. They can work, they can go. And that's where they started really getting people's attention. You see people like, Chyna and the body she had. My God, she had a better physique than a lot of men.
She would have won the pose down with Warrior.
Yeah, that got a lot of attention. But when you had these really, basically were models. They were, as
They were.
the divas were models who were very attractive and had great bodies. And then on top of it, they could work. And that's when it really started to take off.
That's true. And, again, and what's interesting too is Rockin' Robin comes down to Sam Houston's music. Sam Houston is her half brother, who's half brothers with Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, all
so
family.
You have a whole family all working together, but they never acknowledge that they're brothers or sisters, except this one time I'm watching Royal Rumble 89, and out of nowhere, Jesse brings up, like, oh, coming down to Sam Houston's music. Oh.
Little connection there.
Yeah, that's the first time I noticed a connection once and for all. But before we move on, though, to the next match, I have a question about Kings. And the King question is, how do you feel about the King gimmick in professional wrestling? Like, what are you the king of?
Yeah.
Like Memphis? Okay, that makes sense to me. The rest is, who are you? What are the king of?
It's kind of that, king of the ring, royalty, used to put a crown on somebody's head and give him a scepter. Yeah, it was just another gimmick that had been
what
around
are you the
for
king?
a long. Well, yeah, okay. There's an argument there. You're king of what? Your lands and
of course.
But there's a lot of that in wrestling. As look at how many different titles there still are. So what is the Intercontinental Champion of what? What are you Intercontinental Champion of? It's
the continents, of course.
Well, okay, so yeah, it's just a gimmick.
Yeah,
but and one that has stood the test of time, or at least it did then. Yeah.
King Haku versus King Harley Race. King versus King. Bobby Heenan is the manager of both men, and Jesse points out the only who cares who wins. Bobby always wins in this one, and this is Harley Race's last match in the WWF. He's gone, but they also don't put this match on the Coliseum video release. So if you didn't watch this live, you had no idea this match even existed until years later. Why do you think this was removed from the original release? Like, because of Harley Race leaving the company, or we just didn't have enough time on our VHS tapes?
Well, let's just say, at least in my opinion, it was, and I'll say it nicely, it wasn't a great match. It was, I think that had a lot to do, which, because Harley was a tremendous worker. I mean, anybody that knows about his career, but this was on the other side of, where he'd been working a long time. I don't know how old he was at that point, but it just wasn't a great match. I don't think, come on, we could put 6 hours of tape basically on those Coliseum
EP. You gotta put them on EP.
Everything. Yes. You could do 2 tapes, which we did. So saying that we didn't have enough room to put it on, I just don't think that it was a great match. I think maybe some of it was they didn't want to put that out there because it didn't make Harley look great either. Haku was a great worker, and it just it just wasn't a very, very good match. And I think in some ways maybe it was a little bit of protection for Harley. It's just like we don't want that to be one of the last times we see him in the ring with the WWE. So I think that had something to do with it. But it was and I'm sure you watched it too. It just wasn't my God, terrible, whatever. But it just was not very good.
Well, you had a 3-on-3, 2 out of 3 falls match, which probably ate a lot of time on your VHS tape and using the wrong.
We had the tape. We had
SP.
We had enough tape. We could have gone back and gotten another roll and put it on there and made sure it all fit.
That's so funny you say that.
That's your blockbuster.
So here's the question for you then about Coliseum video releases. So we've talked before where you've been a deal where how many tapes are sold, you get more money, correct?
Yeah.
So
me personally, or the
wrestlers in general too, and you, right? You're getting a
I didn't get a percentage. Are you kidding? I'd love to have gotten a percentage. No.
Well, you said you got an extra $1,000. I think was the
Yeah, I got a
for each.
hosting fee. Yeah, I got a little extra for doing that. Yes.
So when these tapes released,
yeah,
are the boys getting a percentage of the tapes because they're on them at the time?
Well, I don't think so at the time. No, I don't think that had been I don't think that they had broken that down yet. Maybe there was something they got just for appearing on it, but as far as them getting these extra deals, I think it was those matches were basically we own the rights to it or whatever. We get to do whatever we want, and that's part of your contract. Now, later on, we know that would all change, but at that point in time. No, I don't think so. I may be wrong on that, but I don't think so. I believe that as far as the merchandising and all that was going on, that was, I think that was just something that they had, that they signed off on, and they could put whatever they wanted. I'm sure that
Hogan
wasn't one because Harley wanted too much money to put it on that tape. I don't think.
No, my thought was Vince is petty as hell, and he would be like, "All right, you're done here. Oh, you're leaving. Oh, you're retiring. Okay, well, guess what? We're not putting your match on this tape. So guess what? You don't get Coliseum video money. See ya."
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, I never heard of people getting percentages of that until Jesse went to war with them over it.
Right.
And
years later too.
Right. So all of that before was just, and a lot of the guys weren't getting, merchandise money. If they were, it wasn't much until that all started to take place. And I've said before, Jesse's very responsible for that, but indirectly so was Hulk Hogan, because Hulk knew that most of that merchandise being sold had his name on it or was affiliated with him somehow. And he was like, well, pay me, if I ain't here, that ain't going off the shelves. That's not being shipped from our warehouses. So, not that he ever went to bat and said, I want this for all the boys, but indirectly, because if he got it, then it was just, okay, well, then everybody should get a piece of the pie. But at that point, absolutely not. And I said, I thought I was such a tremendous negotiator sitting there across the desk from, like I said, I think it was an extra $1,000 for each time I hosted the tape. I'm thinking, you idiot. I mean, what if I would have just said, give me 1 point? I think it would have been thousands of dollars along the way. Maybe I'd still be getting those 8-cent checks. But I thought, Mooney, that's great. Get the money now. You don't know what's going to happen with these, right? And Linda's sitting across the table like, boy, what a schmuck. Sure, Sean. Yeah, we'll give you $1,000.
Yeah, well, that sounds great.
You're doing this to us.
Put away that big check we were going to give him. Put away the big check. We have a smaller check now for him. He's satisfied with that. That's hilarious to think that.
But who knew?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
And the whole thing. Yeah.
It just has such a low buy rate. 165,000 people purchased this event. Now I'm wondering, because if they don't understand what it is, because Survivor Series on those they would explain 1,000 times what Survivor Series is, like multiple teams thrive to survive. Royal Rumble, I think it's a hard concept to understand until you actually see it a bunch of times.
Yeah, and as I said before, that they'd seen it, been able to see it on cable the year before. So maybe they're kind of thinking, well, why do I got to pay for this one? That may have hurt it some. And it was also to the point where, even people thought maybe they thought at that point, like, oh God, they're going to make me pay for another event. I'm already doing for the 3, and I got to get mom and dad to get me this one, or, who knows? But that would certainly change. But that was kind of surprising. It was, because the other ones were doing much bigger buy rates, and you would have thought, okay, it's another pay-per-view event. Yeah, you should pay whatever it was at the time. I know it was $20 or whatever the buy rate, what it would cost you to buy it at that time. I think it was like $27 then, which probably seemed like
some
a
weird
lot of
number,
money.
yeah.
Yeah, $27.95 or
I
something.
was just gonna say they had to tack on the 95 to make sure.
It always was like that. Yeah,
squeeze out that money.
But you know, it was at a time where you weren't used to paying for things like that, like we are today. Everybody's got apps, and you know, it's this much money here, or you want to watch a UFC event, it's nothing, you know, to watch that, to do that. And I believe that we're going to be paying for everything soon enough. I mean, we won't get NFL games for free, even, you know, the big games. And I mean, now you can get your, you know, your NFL package or whatever, but you can still see NFL football every week on regular television. At some point, that's going to be changed. We're seeing what that's happening. But back then, think about that you weren't used to having to pay to watch something. You know, so they may ask you to do another one like 4 times a year. You know, it was a kind of a tough ask initially, and it was a lot of money to people back then to do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you had Survivor Series in November, and so now you're asking me to be interested in something new I've never heard of. What is this? Oh, I saw this last year. You said, oh, it's free. Now it's not free. You know, little Jimmy, little Sarah, Christmas just happened, and, you know, Santa brought you a lot of toys, and I don't think we can buy something because January 15th is when this event happened. So in reality, like, you're not that far away from Christmas. So it's a very hard sell, I think. But obviously numbers go up. WrestleMania 5 has, you know, extreme numbers. So this doesn't really show you like, oh, well, we had one bad event, so they're all going to be bad. Like, no, one bad buy rate, which creates the excitement for WrestleMania 5, which then skyrockets to another Hulk Hogan run in the WWF. So reality, that's what this event is to get the championship back on Hogan, but turning savage at the same time. But the fact that Big John Studd is the winner, when you do wrestling like trivia and you have to go like, who was the first? People are like, Hogan. Like, oh, sorry, wrong. Was it who is it? And someone's like, Big John Studd. The reactions are always.
Well, and it's it's all summed up at the very end of it when he's won it after Virgil gets tossed or whatever. He's just kind of standing there. It's kind of like, yay. I mean, you can just feel like with the crowd, Studd just doesn't know what to do. He's not a guy that's going to be doing this. He's not going to be he's not going to get the crowd go. You know, he's just kind of standing there. There's not even like something you get. You know, maybe the big trophy will, you know, something but he just stands there, and then it's okay. Thanks, folks. See you next time. So that's kind of the way that whole event was for me. Watching again, it was just, one
Didn't
of those.
Feel it?
Nope. But they got better. They did get better.
Yes.
And this was, like you said, became part of the Big Four, and you know, and was that way for a long time. And it was, you know, it was like seasons. It was just divided. The whole year was divided in 4 parts. And once WrestleMania hit, and then you started the new season. It was the way it worked, but it's much different than today. Whereas everything is just, you know, just keeps that machine just keeps churning. It just keep going.
The 1989 Royal Rumble is one of those tapes I had that I never watched because I thought it was so terrible after watching it because it felt so boring. It felt dated. It didn't feel like the WWF that I fell in love with. And then for some strange reason, after this event, like it just, the feeling of all the yellow and the red and Hogan's back and all these good things are happening again. Like that's when this, I think, another hot run begins. And, but this, I avoided it for years. So rewatching it, I enjoyed rewatching it, but I will probably not watch this for another, 25, 30 years from now. I don't need, so don't need to watch it again. It's interesting show. If you want to,
I told you I couldn't even just sit and watch. I had to keep just kind of going,
forwarding it.
Hitting where it'd go 15, 20 seconds because it would be the same stuff going on. And that's, like I said, that's why I always had a problem with these. Is it was all, that guys trying to work, and it just, you don't have a whole lot of room, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and things are getting missed, and where. The guy, I always love the part where the guy breaks from somebody and then he kind of turns around. There's like nobody around him. And he's like, okay, I gotta go find somebody. Okay, I'll go do the double axe handle.
Yes.
the big bad news Brown or whatever, you know, and it's just like, oh man.
I love that you said that, because I think there's a point where someone starts in one corner and runs at someone like this, and then someone cuts him off, and then he's like, "What are you doing? I'm trying to
work here,
and you're trying to stop me, asshole." Yeah, this is not a top 5 Royal Rumble. This is not a top 10
and the whole
Royal
thing
Rumble.
is you're looking is just you make sure you hit your spot. Like when you go out after this, that was basically just remember, you know, you go out when you see him go, you know you're next.
Right. That's about it here. That's about it here.
You two are going out. You two are going out together. So make sure, you know.
I wouldn't watch this from the beginning, but I would certainly watch from Axe and Smash until Hogan's gone. And then after that, just shut it off.
That's fair.
Just go hang out with your family and friends. Go out, have a nice meal, you know, do something nice, but don't watch beyond that. But in reality, thank you again, Mr. Mooney, talking about Royal Rumble 1989. Woo, Big John Studd. Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
We did it. Can you cheer for me? No? All right, well.
Slow clap.
No, it's come on, little Billy. We have to beat the traffic. All right. Yeah. Well, either way, I'm Seafall. He's Sean Mooney. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.